Hey, what's up? It's Cree. You're listening to another edition of Outside the Ring Wrestling Podcast, aka OTR. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in for the new year. Happy New Year to all of you guys. 2015 is finally over. We can finally prosper and be happy, make some money, get some good TV, all of that in 2016. So, once again, thank you guys for supporting us throughout the year. It is only me today. Paris could not make it. And let me just tell you guys, I'm recording from my house right now. Unfortunately, where I usually go, the mic in the box was just not working, and Audacity was just being the worst. It was trolling me, but thank God my computer is working, so we're able to record. But nonetheless, you guys don't care about that. The Royal Rumble is in the midst. It's actually this Sunday, and we're going to be able to see for the first time ever Roman Reigns as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion defend his title in the Royal Rumble against 29 other superstars. And you guys already know, every 90 seconds, I believe, a new superstar will come into the match. And as that happens, people are eliminated until we have one winner. With that being said, let's go into wrestling news. First thing on the list, the city of Orlando, Florida has made a bid for WrestleMania 33. So you guys know that as time has been going on, we haven't really been hearing much about locations. Minneapolis was a huge contender. We were talking about that for, I think, maybe 3/4 of 2015. And it seems like as of now, that might be put to bed because recently WWE was in Minnesota, I believe 2 weeks ago, and we hadn't heard any news. And we kind of expected it because, if this is potentially going to be the next city for WrestleMania, there might be some buzz. They might want to break it early so people can decide whether or not they want to come to WrestleMania and all that good stuff. But as soon as that news hit the timeline, it lit up. And for me, I live in New York City. So Florida is 2 hours away from me via flight. So that would be perfect. Usually when it comes to these cities, when it comes to WrestleMania, sometimes I'm a little wary because it's long traveling. But it's always seems to be a good time. But if it's in Orlando, I know that's going to be a really fun WrestleMania venue. There's so much down there. Not to mention, it's pretty close to NXT Full Sail. So, I could see them opening up the Performance Center or having tapings down at NXT for people that indulge in the packages. So I'm interested. We probably won't even know what the next venue will be until WrestleMania. So we'll just have to wait till April. But until then, I think that Orlando has a good shot. If not, maybe the year after. But anything can happen with WWE. They always pull a fast one on us because I don't even think they know yet where they're going. I think because WrestleMania is such a special event, I think they want to make sure they can go to a venue that they could break an attendance record and make sure it's a great place that can not only increase revenue for their business, but for the city. Because last year, California was probably one of the highest grossing WrestleManias behind WrestleMania 30. So who knows what this year will do. I think Dallas is going to do great, but it all depends on the momentum they keep going for these cities because you don't want to go to a boring city where nobody has any care to go to. So we'll see. Next on the list, we keep getting these reports about Daniel Bryan, how outside doctors at UCLA have been clearing him. And, a lot of fans are kind of wondering, why is Daniel Bryan not back yet? This time last year, Daniel Bryan was actually set to compete in the Royal Rumble. And of course, that didn't go the way how fans wanted it to. But I think for right now, we need to really sit on Daniel Bryan and make sure that he's 100%. These doctors can clear them all they want, but he's just so injury prone, and it's kind of devastating to see the same thing happen. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So it's just I want Daniel Bryan to chill out. I know it's hard to do for a wrestler because whenever you're injured, you want to come back on the road so badly because you're not used to being at home. You're not used to sitting and doing nothing. You're used to being active. You're used to traveling, interacting with your fans. And I think, of course, we're going to talk about Total Divas where he also touched on that, but he has a big problem with that transition. But a lot of people wanted to really ponder and think, is there a deeper reason why Daniel Bryan isn't back yet? I just think they're scared, honestly. They're scared because for him to have a whole history with concussions and then you have this neck and shoulder issue you want to be careful. You don't want it to be a situation where he's in the ring with a certain competitor and his body just gives out on him. And I like a lot of you, I don't know why, want him to go against Brock Lesnar. And first of all, Brock Lesnar in general, I'm not really the hugest fan of him, but I just know for a fact that he's very rough in the ring. He doesn't show any type of care in terms of the other opponent's safety. He kind of just does what he wants. And WB has yet, and I don't think they ever will, check him on that, because one of these days he's really going to hurt someone. But a lot of people want him to go against Brock Lesnar, and I think that is probably going to be his last match ever, if he ever does that. That's just my opinion. There's no conspiracy theory. Daniel Bryan is not back because Vince McMahon is afraid of Daniel Bryan getting hurt again. Vince McMahon does not want Daniel Bryan to come back into the ring, get hurt on his watch, and then have the rest of you fans to try to take over Raw again. Because you've done it so many times before with these chants, whether it be the yes chant or other chants. It's like he just wants the business to flourish. And these theories about how he hasn't been brought back because of Roman Reigns, put that to bed. Y'all are disgusting. Like, so many fans have said that. I know some people have said it out of jokes, but like the people who are legitimately serious about that, I just think you have an issue. And once you get right with God, you'll be fine. But I mean, more power to Daniel Bryan. I just want him to really take his time with this. I think ultimately, if he rushes into coming back, he might regret it. And that's it. Next on the list, our favorite former diva and Hall of Famer, Tammy Sytch, aka Sunny, is now signed with Vivid Entertainment. And if you don't know what Vivid Entertainment is, I don't think you should Google it ever, but it is a porn company. And unfortunately, the trailer was retweeted on my timeline yesterday, and you don't know how fast I scrolled to make sure I didn't see it. But, the devil was busy that day. But I just can't. I don't like Sunny. It's not a secret. I had her blocked on Twitter for a long time. I'm just really tired of seeing her vagina on my timeline. I'm just sick of it. And then the other day, she had some things to say when people were checking her on using the N-word. What I hate the most is when white people or non-black people in general use the N-word, and then when they get checked, they want to talk about, oh, it's not something that only black people could just say. Everybody can say it. I just need people to understand, if you're not black, don't say it, because I think that's the quickest way you're going to get chin checked. And that's just it. There's also reports of Sunny trying to sell her WWE Hall of Fame ring, and I don't get it. Ultimately, I'm not going to sit here and try to make the case for China like a lot of people have. I definitely do agree that I would want to see China in the Hall of Fame now that the Hall of Fame does have a porn star in there. Like, I just think it's fair now, because rather than not Sunny is doing it now opposed to when China did it before, it's only fair now. I feel like if we're going to do this, we can just put everybody in. Ultimately, China is not going to be in the Hall of Fame for a long time until those personal issues are completely dead. But I just think that excuse no longer applies. And I just want people in WWE, just want them to be honest. Like, be real. Just say it's personal issues why she's not in there. And then that would have been it. People wouldn't be continue to talk about this. But Sunny is disgusting. It's only a matter of time before something happens to her, and I hate to be really mean about it, but I just can't. I don't see her living very long, because the way how she just acts, it just is indicative of someone that has, I don't want to say drugs or alcohol, but there's something mentally wrong with her. And I'm not trying to use mental illness as an insult, but there's something wrong with her. And if someone doesn't reach out to her and try to get her together, it's not going to end well. And that's all I have to say about Sunny. And then last news, Josh, aka Bronson, had gotten into some hot water this week during Monday Night Raw. So it was during the Social Outcast segment, which is, you guys know, Adam Rose, Bo Dallas, Heath Slater, and Curtis Axel. So these are 4 people who joined a whole group now called Social Outcast. Basically, they're people who don't get utilized. So let's just be real, everyone else that watches wrestling calls them jobbers. Now, Josh in a tweet was saying he liked them, but he put the hashtag social jobbers. And that's what sparked the controversy. Now, at the time when I was looking at it, I didn't see a big deal because, like I said, everybody has used the term. But as time has gone on and these wrestlers were dragging him, I can understand why they're upset. You know, you're a rookie. You came in via a reality TV show. You didn't really pay your dues, quote unquote. And then on top of that, you're insulting people who've worked in this company longer than you, whom right now booking isn't on their side and they're trying to find a way for them to get on Raw and SmackDown. And then you're making jokes, calling them this term, which, and honestly, I can see jobber being a derogatory term for wrestlers, honestly, because let's just be real, nobody wants to be called that. Whether or not you're a quote unquote enhancement talent or anything, nobody wants to be called a jobber. But the reality is that's what the social outcasts are. It's a horrible thing, but that's just reality. Now, Kevin Owens got him together. Stardust kind of banned him from the locker room. So if Josh ever debuts on the main roster, if ever, he's not allowed to dress with the rest of the guys. I feel like it was something that ended up going too far. He ended up deleting the tweet. Let me just say that. But his tweet later then got to X-Pac, who was talking about how people keep using these terms and don't know what they mean. And a jobber isn't what we think it is. It's kind of like reminiscent of when Amanda called Sarah Lee a ring rat, and then X-Pac was like, oh, a ring rat isn't someone that sleeps with the wrestlers. It's someone that would do laundry. And I'm just like, okay, I get it. Like, you're an old wrestler. You can define the terms all you want. But let's just be real. Now, in 2016, to what a ring rat is to us is different from what it was for you, and what a jobber is to you is different for us. Ultimately, I think Josh should have never said it. He could have just said, I like them, and called it a day. But whatever. I mean, ultimately, I think he'll get over it. As long as he works hard and eventually apologizes to the people that it was involved with, I think he'll be fine. He might have to dress in the hallway for like a couple of months, but he'll be good. And that was wrestling news. All right, y'all, our favorite reality TV show, Total Divas, has returned this week, and we're just gonna start going through my notes. Nothing major. Hopefully when Paris and I get back in the studio, we can talk about it more in depth as the season goes on. I know a lot of you guys in general do not like Total Divas. Sorry about it. I don't know what to say. Like, I like the show. I think that without it, a lot of our favorite divas wouldn't even be getting airtime. So I think at the end of the day, it's a win. It's kind of a win-win situation. Like, WWE is getting all this attention for the Divas division, and then the people who aren't used on Raw and SmackDown that are on Total Divas is getting a little shine. So there's that. All right, so this episode focused mainly on Nikki, her sister, of course. They're like always the focal points of the episodes, and Paige. So the editing on this show, I will say, is a little like weird because you guys try to touch on the Divas Revolution and Beast in the East, and Beast in the East special event, which was in July, actually July 4th. That was in Japan. That happened before the Divas Revolution. Because if I remember correctly, the Divas Revolution was the next month after that. So the editing for Total Divas, at least for this first episode, is spotty. But then again, I've seen it in the past. Like, I remember there was this one episode they went to London, and they try to make it seem like Maria Menounos, who they usually have as like a guest host for WrestleMania, was backstage. Like, Maria did not go all the way to London to watch no damn Monday Night Raw. This was during WrestleMania season. I just need them to be smarter about the editing, because I get it's a new audience that watches Total Divas, but they need to remember that the fans also watch it too. And if we can pinpoint when it happened, you look dumb. But with that being said, we picked up where we are last season with Nikki and Dolph. You know, Dolph is basically talking to Nikki about her relationship with John, and he's just kind of making his own case for the relationship. You know, he's saying that he can marry her, he can give her kids, he can make her happy. She's basically settling for John. And so he kind of goes in to try to kiss her and she slaps him, which she said was a natural reaction. And I think that is for most women too. And she kind of leaves. She goes to talk to Bree about it. And Bree kind of was like, I told you so. Like, it's very obvious that he felt a certain way about you and you were kind of naive. Now, fast forward, we go to Bree and Daniel. Now, as I talked about in wrestling news, Daniel Bryan is adjusting to being at home and he wants to be back in the ring. Now, Bree is trying her hardest to try to get him to find another career outside of wrestling. Now, personally for me, I think that Daniel Bryan would be really great as a general manager, or if he doesn't want to do general managing, he could be a trainer down in NXT, because he doesn't really need to physically like exert energy to train. He just needs to show them the ropes, show them the tapes of his matches and other people's matches, and I think that right there would be helpful for them. But Bree is actually looking towards like the subscription boxes. So like if you guys have any type of subscription, like Nature Box, Love to Eat, Love of Food, I think is the name of the subscription box. But I think these particular products are going to be like, I guess maybe seeds or something nature based, which I think is such a good idea for them, because that's who they are as people. I believe they're still vegans, so they're super healthy. Like Bree was on Good Morning America talking about like what she eats, and it was like I couldn't do it. Like, but I thought that was a good idea for them. Ultimately, Daniel wasn't feeling it, because ultimately he hasn't really gotten it together that this might just be the end of his career, which I know for a lot of wrestlers that's a hard pill to swallow, especially because doctors are now clearing him, saying that he can go. But like I said earlier, I think he needs to hold off on it. Do some DDP yoga, and I'm not even making a joke. Like, I feel like a lot of wrestlers have endorsed that, not just because DDP is like obviously a Hall of Famer, but it seems like it's worked for them and they've gotten great flexibility. They're in better shape than they ever were. And I think if he does that, tries to not put so much stress on himself, I think that he would be in a better place. And ultimately, if he doesn't wrestle another day in his life, I think it's going to be hard for him to get over it. But I think that he can look back at his career and say, even though I was here for a short while, I did much more than a lot of people who've been there for more than 10 years. So there's that. We go to Paige now. So last season, Paige got engaged to her boyfriend, Kevin. And she didn't really want to. She just kind of said yes because she was afraid of losing him. And ultimately, she didn't know how to tell him. So last season, she was like, she's going to tell him when she comes back from Japan. So now that they're in Japan, Nikki and Paige had a triple threat with Tamina. And that, by the way, that was a horrible match. I'm sorry. Like, I love everybody in that match. Like, as much as I shade Paige stands, I actually like Paige. I just don't like her excessive title shots. But I loved everyone in that match. But that match was just so bad. Bringing it back, they have the match and they're talking about it, and they're both trying to figure out what they're going to do. You know, Nikki has to tell John about the situation with Dolph, and Paige has to talk about her engagement situation. Now, personally, I kind of hate how every season in Total Divas, Nikki always has this secret, or she has something she's hiding from John, and I think it's so dumb, because I'm sure in real life she does not wait to the last minute to tell him anything. But whatever, it's all scripted reality, but that's it. So we go to the scene with Paige and her boyfriend towards the end of the episode, and her mom actually, I believe, she FaceTimes her, and she's kind of pissed at her because she just found out that Paige was engaged via television, which I always wondered. Like, I know the UK sometimes get episodes behind the US, but I'm really surprised Paige never told her mom she was engaged at all, which to me is super weird. But so now they're discussing the whole wedding, and Paige is starting to get agitated a little bit, and that's kind of when she tells Kevin, I don't even want to be engaged. Now, I really felt bad for him in this situation, because I felt like, I'm sure, like I said, scripted, but it kind of seems bad that you're finding out your fiance doesn't even want to marry you or doesn't want to be engaged to you on camera. Ultimately, this season, it seems like it's gonna be really good. So towards the complete end, Nikki tells John, and his reaction was kind of off. Like, I feel like if most men found out that their girl's ex tried to kiss him, I feel like he would try to kill the ex. Like, it would just be complete violence. But then again, we're talking about John Cena. John is cool, collected. He doesn't really show that he's pissed off or he's jealous. I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's something that would worry any of the women that's listening, but I can understand why he doesn't want to show that he's pissed, because ultimately this is John Cena. He's the face of a company. He cannot look bad no matter what. Like, John Cena could be shot on camera tomorrow, but John has to take that bullet like a man because he's the face of WWE. But ultimately, I'm gonna like this season. I'm just kind of pissed that Naomi was taken off. Like, I'm always gonna say, Paris is probably always gonna say it too, because I feel like Naomi, Jimmy Uso, they always had like a great lightheartedness to the show. Because, you know, after a while, you can only watch so much Paige and the Bellas. You need some of that fun and lightheartedness, the jokes that's gonna lighten the mood. Because I swear, every time I watch the Bellas, they always have some drama with their men, and it's always so hard. And then you have Paige and Alicia Fox fighting, and then you got the girls coming for Eva Marie, and like Eva always looks like, okay, I'm trying to get better, but it's not working out. Everybody's booing me. So it's like you miss the balance of drama to fun. But ultimately, I would say, honestly, even though I haven't seen the bulk of this season yet, I think next season needs to be the last one, and I think that it needs to have the original cast. And by original, I mean Eva, JoJo, the twins, Naomi, Cameron, Natty. That's it. End it with the originals, because I always think season 1 was one of the best seasons ever. But ultimately, you guys can check out Total Divas on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock on I'm sure you guys can find streams if you live elsewhere. There's also wrestling sites that post the episode after they premiere, so if you don't have cable, you can always wait and you can check them out. So that was the review of Total Divas, and now I'm going to go into the Royal Rumble predictions. Alright guys, so we're going to do the Royal Rumble predictions. I'm not going to be covering Raw and SmackDown because nothing really great happened this week. Raw was kind of underwhelming in terms of the go home show. I guess that's what you guys call it. The only thing we really got away from this was that Roman Reigns will be the number 1 spot in the Royal Rumble, and we're not really too certain on whom could walk away as champ. You know, Roman was standing tall in the beginning of all the chaos, but him and Brock Lesnar did not make it to the promised land. Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family actually kind of stood tall, both on Raw and SmackDown. So who knows, a Bray Wyatt title shot could be a thing. But of course, we're gonna get to that. But I'm gonna start from the beginning of the show all the way up into the Royal Rumble. This is just the order I think is gonna happen. I usually don't even know what's gonna happen because sometimes they switch it up. But we're gonna start with the kickoff match. So it's a fatal 4-way tag, which is kind of weird. We have the Dudley Boys, Darren Young and Damian Sandow, the Ascension, and Mark Henry and Jack Swagger. I'm just gonna be honest with you, fantasy and reality booking wise, I just give it to the Dudleys. They're the only one of relevance right now. Everybody else is just kind of thrown in together. This match came out of nowhere. I don't know where it came from. I honestly don't know who in creative thought that was a good idea to put these people in this match, but that's neither here nor there. And if I didn't say it before, reality and fantasy booking is what we usually use for a prediction podcast. Fantasy being what's least likely to happen, and reality is what's most likely to happen. And sometimes the two actually mesh. So there's that. And so I think the match that's going to open the show is actually Roberto Del Rio, who was the United States champion, versus Kalisto in their rematch for the US title. So you guys know 2 weeks ago, Kalisto actually won the United States championship, but then he lost it the next SmackDown. So now they're trying to build, and I guess try to build that feud and build credibility for Del Rio and Kalisto so people can actually care. Now, Fantasy, I have ADR. And reality, I have Kalisto via DQ. I do not think he's gonna win like the traditional route, pin or submission. I think that he's gonna win via DQ. I think the League of Nation will actually help out ADR in the end. Next, we have the Divas Championship match. We have Charlotte versus Becky Lynch, and this is one of the feuds that I've been building for a while that I'm really enjoying. And it's been a while since I've generally enjoyed a Divas feud. I feel like I can't even think of the last Divas feud I actually genuinely enjoyed. And I'm not gonna, because I know a lot of you guys are gonna say AJ Lee, but I didn't really I never got into AJ Lee, especially because I came towards the end of her reign, but I just never really saw it for her. And then Nikki had her title reign, and I was trying to get into it, but creative just refused to write for Nikki. I just don't know what it is, but yeah. Fantasy booking, I have Becky, Charlotte for reality, and I think Charlotte's gonna actually beat her clean, which is surprising because she's a heel, but I think it's gonna happen. Next, we have the Usos versus New Day, and fantasy reality booking wise, I have New Day down because I love the Usos, but I'm just kind of tired of seeing them tag team champs. I like them, but it's time for new contenders. I honestly don't see New Day losing their title until maybe WrestleMania, and I see maybe Enzo and Cass being called up and winning. Who knows? Next, we have the last man standing match for the Intercontinental Championship. We have Kevin Owens versus Dean Ambrose, and fantasy and reality booking, I have Dean. This is another feud that I really, really enjoy. I think that Kevin Owens brings out the best in Dean. I kind of like how Kevin is the actual lunatic in this dynamic. For the longest, people have been saying, oh, Dean Ambrose is a lunatic fringe, but Dean never did anything in the Shield or even now that ever warranted the name lunatic fringe. Like, and I know someone's gonna say it, but it'd be really interesting to see Dean Ambrose go through a match without doing that damn rebound lariat. But because it's a last man standing match, I really do see him doing it about 20 times. But like I said, fantasy and reality, I have Dean. I think Dean is gonna retain, and that's mainly because I think for WrestleMania, I see Kevin and Sami Zayn going at it for the championship. Not the championship, but just a regular old feud because they have history and they never really got to finish what they started. So there's that. And so we go to the main event, which is the 2016 Royal Rumble, where, like I said earlier, Roman Reigns will be defending the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Now, I'm not even going to lie to you. The first time when I heard Vince McMahon say Roman would be defending the championship, I was kind of pissed because I was expecting, Roman to get a nice match to have his first real title defense on a pay-per-view and then have the Royal Rumble. Then he has that moment with the winner and it's going to be like great. But I think that because of last year's Royal Rumble and how the booking was just so goddamn bad, like, I feel like the winner was correct, but the booking was horrible, and that's why people took it even worse before. Like, Roman was going to get booed regardless because people were just pissed that WB chose them without their permission, but it's just like, it is what it is. Roman's champ now. He's gonna work his ass off, and I'm glad that he's number one because I think it makes up for last year. He was number 19 and he kind of slept during the match. Like, people have said it and I actually agreed. I felt like for you to have been booed by these people and you didn't really work as hard as you needed to, it's kind of depressing. But ultimately, I think that this match is gonna be exciting. We're gonna see a lot of surprises, hopefully, and I do expect some NXT people to pop up. They're saying AJ Styles might come. I'm not an indie person. I'm not an indie fan, but I'm going to be interested to see how he works in with WWE, because anytime a new indie person comes to WWE, people expect automatically that person to be a main eventer, and it's just like, no. I know AJ Styles, people say, is like one of the best in the world, so I'm excited to see what he can do. And I could always Google him, of course, but WB has their formula. So what I might see him do now, he's probably not going to do in WWE. Because WWE has a thing of changing the formula and making it work to their standards. So there's there. But fantasy and reality booking, Roman Reigns all the way. I know that a lot of people don't think Roman's going to retain. And that is a possibility. Roman probably won't retain, but I think it's going to be weird for him to have had the championship 3 times within the span of 3 months. And that's kind of spotty to me, especially because he's so young and he's just beginning his career, and he's about to have maybe 3 reigns within a year. But there are some possibilities because this is the Royal Rumble and things happen. Who knows? Roman might make a mistake and fall out, or someone may push out the wrong person. Things happen in the Royal Rumble. Wrestlers talk about it all the time. So I have these possibilities. So obviously, number 1, Roman is the winner. Number 2, Brock Lesnar is the winner because that is a favorite to win. I will never get it. Anytime Brock Lesnar is in any arena, he gets like the most love, and it's just foreign to me because while yes, he is like an attraction that comes every couple of months, like I just don't get it. Like Roman could be the guy that y'all want him to be, and as soon as he steps in the ring with Brock Lesnar, Roman is now the bad guy, and I just don't get it. I will never get the Brock Lesnar hype. I just won't. But Bray Wyatt is another contender. So like I said, Raw and SmackDown, Bray Wyatt was actually standing tall with the Wyatt family, so people are thinking Bray could very much so be champion. Here's the thing. If Roman loses his championship, he automatically has that rematch clause, right? So Roman will be going to WrestleMania regardless, but I just don't think him and Bray are the people to do it. So that's the only reason why I rule out Bray Wyatt. But 2, I also find him boring. Like Bray Wyatt hasn't been great since he was with the Wyatt family versus the Shield. That's when they peaked. If anything, I feel like the only person that should be going solo is Luke Harper. He's the one with the most potential on that team. But that's just my opinion. And ultimately, a lot of people have been talking about this last possibility, Triple H coming and winning the Royal Rumble. Now, we all know that Triple H is playing the part of him getting his ass whipped, despite him showing up to NXT to do the introduction. But that's neither here nor there. But ultimately, K-Fab or K-Fabe, whatever you guys pronounce it as, it is kind of weird that we haven't heard about Triple H since TLC. You know, Stephanie and Vince McMahon had made references about him being really hurt and him not coming back for a while because Roman kind of brutalized him at TLC. But the fact we haven't seen or heard of him, excluding that NXT example, should scare everybody in the locker room. It really should. But honestly and truly, if Triple H was to come back, I would love it to have been, you know, after Roman winning the Royal Rumble, then Triple H just demolishing him and just beating his ass. And that kind of writes Roman off of Monday Night Raw. At least to the absolute end. But we'll see. I'm actually really invested in this year's Royal Rumble. Last year, I'm usually always invested in the Royal Rumble because it's one of my favorite pay-per-views. But this year, I feel like this card is a very solid card. And what I love about this year's Royal Rumble, even to my dismay of Roman possibly losing the championship, the winner is very unpredictable. So we'll see. Alright guys, so that's the end of the show. You can email us at theotr101@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, and or requests for a podcast topic. You can hit me up on Twitter at Cookies and Cree, COOKIESANDCREE, and Paris at PareXO, PAREEXO, and we can talk about wrestling, whatever. We'll be definitely tweeting the Royal Rumble. So thank you guys for listening. I know this podcast was kind of rushed and short, but we are having a snowstorm in New York any minute now, so I just want to make sure I recorded this and got it out the way just in case I lose internet access. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll be back when we're back. Enjoy your week. Bye.